Elliott Goold meets Paramour Piaf. Elliott Goold had just turned 21 4 weeks previous and had bought himself a Lotus Elite and put on his own registration, ELGOOLD. It was Saturday, 5th of September 1964, and Elliott had made arrangements with his friend Stuart Haslam to go downtown to the Cromwellian Club in Bolton. Elliott didn't fancy going drinking beer with all his mates. For the last few weeks, he had been on a drinking binge with all his mates since turning 21. It had been beer, beer, beer and beer, along with girls, girls and girls. This night was going to be coffee, coffee and coffee. Elliott had just had a bath and started to dress, putting on his black skin tight trousers. Then came his double-two shirt, which was white with a black collar and black sleeves. His tie was black with a golden lion's head motif. Elliott also had cufflinks that matched the tie. They were a present Elliott had got when he turned 21, with him being born in August, which makes him a Leo. His shoes being black Chelsea crocodile texture, leather ankle boots. He was now nearly ready to go dancing. Normally, Elliott dressed in normal trousers and his shirts are various colours, but always a double-two shirt. He wore either his cowboy boots or beetle crushers with extra soles, making him look a bit taller than his 6'2". But Elliott's jacket was a black fingertip jacket, which all his mates called it the Sonny Liston jacket, making him a proper rocker. But this night, Elliott and Stuart were going to a mod club. Elliott knew that he had to be smart to get in there. Once he was on short time and from signing on at the Dole Centre, Elliott decided he would go there and have a coffee. Usually there would be someone there he knew, but that day there wasn't. And Elliott was asked to leave, being dressed like a rocker. It was a lovely evening, so Elliott put on his gold cardigan, then gave his mum a kiss, and off he went, arriving at Stuart's, who was waiting for him. Stuart got in the car and Elliott set off, going along Moor Road, coming to a car park very close to the club. Elliott parked up, Stuart and Elliott walked out to the club. Once inside, they got a coffee and sat on some tall stools at the edge of a round table. On finishing their coffee, Stuart said to Elliott, "It's really quiet here, should we go to the review bar?" Elliott said, "Anywhere has got to be better than here." So off they went, back to the car park and through the town to where the review club was. Elliott parked up in the street facing the club. Soon they were in the club, which was packed with people, and most of them were rocking the joint. Elliott smiled at Stuart, saying, "This is a lot better." Whilst they walked around the floor, Stuart said to Elliott, "Fancy splitting them girls up," pointing to a couple. Elliott said, "Not really, they look too stuck up." "Well, I fancy one of them." "OK," said Elliott. So they walked across the floor, weaving in and out of those dancing. On reaching the girls, Stuart said to the one he fancied, "Fancy a dance with us?" She replied, "No." So they started walking back off the dance floor. Elliott said to Stuart, "I told you they were stuck up." Next minute, the girl who Stuart fancied ran over to Elliott. "You are a friend of David's soulmate." Elliott replied, "Yes, I am. Yes, I am." Elliott lifted her off the floor, gave her a kiss and said, "See you at the exit door, 11:15 p.m. "OK," she said. Stuart said to Elliott, "You bastard, you know I fancied her." Elliott said, "Well, you can go with her mate." 11:15, Elliott went to the main door and the girl was waiting for Elliott. So Elliott got hold of her hand and led her outside and across the road to his car. When the girl spotted the car, she said to Elliott, "What are you doing with David's soulmate's car?" Elliott said, "I know he has a car same as mine, but look at the registration. It's got my name, Elliott Goold." "What's your name?" She replied, "Paramour Piaf." Elliott then said jokingly, "Any relation to Edith Piaf?" She said, "Yes, She is my great-aunt. Elliott smiled and opened the door for her, and Paramour got in. Elliott asked her, "Where do you live?" She told Elliott. Then he drove her home and parked at top of her street on some spare ground, where they talked and kissed until Paramour said, "I've got to go, but if you are in the Pally on Tuesday, I will be there." Elliott replied, "Yes, I will see you then." Elliott got out of his car, went round to the other side and opened the door for her. She got out, threw her arms round Elliott, kissed him and walked off. Elliott watched her walk across the spare land as she disappeared round the corner into her street. Elliott smiled to himself and walked round to the other side of the car, got in and started the engine and drove home. Paramour lies. Paramour lived in a 2-up and 2-down terrace with an outside backyard and loo, with no bathroom. She did have electric lights and a coal fire with a kettle on a grate that would move over the fire to boil the water for a cup of etc. Thursday night she would go to the washhouse to have a bath. She lived with her mum and an elderly lady she used to call her aunt. Her dad lived in lodgings somewhere in Bolton and was well known as one of the 40 thieves that would meet in Newport Street Cafe every morning before they went on the way, usually collecting rags or stealing lead, etc. In the afternoons they would meet in a town pub, which was well known that if you wanted something, you could collect it the day after. Her dad was not a nice guy, for they used to live in France, and he would hit his wife then, so she made her way to Bolton, for she had some relatives there, who got her and Paramour lodgings. It wasn't long before he found where they lived, and came to Bolton, where he would go banging on the door or throwing bricks through the window, and then the police would arrest him. This happened lots and lots. Paramour's friend Dorothy lived back to back from her, and in 1965 October she married a guy called Richard Dickey. Paramour told Elliott that he was having a stag do at his house, and would he go? She pestered Elliott to go, so he went for an hour before going home. Paramour had told Elliott that she was going to Dorothy's to have a few drinks with her and to sort the wedding day out. She asked Elliott to pick her up around 8 p.m, for she was working in the afternoon at the shoe shop on Elwell Road, and then they could go to the reception. Elliott picked her up on that Saturday evening, and whilst they were driving to the reception, Elliott asked her, did she have a good night with Dorothy? Her reply was, yes, we had a wonderful night and drunk a few baby shams. In the year 2024, Elliott and Christmas, Elliott's wife, went to a club and Dorothy was in. She came and sat next to Elliott and was talking about her paintings, so she showed Elliott on her phone some paintings she had done. Elliott thought they were good, so he asked her, would she do some cartoons for his book he had written? She said okay, so Elliott and Christmas went to her house a few days later. Elliott looked at the paintings Dorothy had painted, so at first she agreed when Elliott showed her the book he had written, but nothing came of it. Elliott thinks it was because Dorothy was Paramour's best friend. Elliott said to Dorothy, I knew Wilf, that was her second husband who had died, so she brought out some photos. Elliott said after looking at the photos, fantastic, have you any of your first marriage? So Dorothy brought some more photos from her bedroom, re her first marriage to Richard. Elliott started to say to Dorothy, Richard, best mate, is he still alive? No, she said, died quite a few years ago. Then he noticed Paramour in a bridesmaid dress. These are stunning dresses. Paramour looks radiant on this one, said Elliott. Yes, we had a good time looking for wedding and bridesmaid dresses and trying them on. We spent most Saturdays in Manchester, ending up and getting drunk. But the best night was my hen do. We all went to Birch Tree nightclub, and boy did we dance the night away. Paramour never told Elliott that she was to be a bridesmaid, nor about going to the nightclub. Was these the first lies that Paramour told to Elliott? Brother Jack saying to Elliott, autumn is not yours, but Sebastian Knowles. One day, whilst Elliott was visiting his brother Jack in a care home, Autumn went to visit him. It was when she left that Jack told Elliott that Autumn was not his but Sebastian's. Elliott didn't take much notice, for Jack had dementia and Sebastian was Elliott's best friend. Not long after Jack died, Sebastian was living down south, then with his partner. A few years later, Sebastian phoned Elliott and said, "We are up in the lakes camping at Troutbeck." Elliott said, "I will have a ride up and meet you at Bowness tomorrow, 11 in the morning." "Okay," said Sebastian. So the day after, Elliott and Christmas was waiting at Bowness, and Sebastian turned up with his partner Terry in a large mobile home. Elliott said, "Wow, that's a beautiful mobile home." "Yes," Terry said. "Sebastian wants to reminisce about him coming here with you when you had your motorbikes." Elliott replies, "Yes, those were the days. That's where we are heading for after his Coniston." As they walking around, Sebastian told Elliott that he didn't have long to live, and sadly, he passed away a few months later. Terry kept in touch with Elliott, sending him Sebastian's autobiography for Elliott to add things that Sebastian had missed out. Elliott put it to one side, for he was busy with writing a book and breeding butterflies. When eventually Elliott read the manuscript, he was gobsmacked, for what Sebastian had wrote did link him to having sex with Paramour. Their characteristics were so much alike. Jack's wife must have told him, for she was very close to Paramour, with having kids at the same time and living back to back. The jobs Elliott did for Autumn, like building a walk-in rabbit hutch, she dismantled and had another one built, which she had to crawl in. Elliott taking her to B&Q for decorating materials and buying a long paint roller for her stairs. When Elliott told her that he had one she could use, and maybe they could both do each other's stairs. Autumn never said anything, and when Elliott came out of B&Q, he found she had bought one. Elliott buying her cap and gowns for her graduation day. Autumn did not like Elliott talking to Summer, nor did Summer like Elliott talking to Autumn. They played Elliott against one another to get what they could from Elliott. Now was the time for Elliott to get down to the nitty-gritty on what he had read about Sebastian. Sebastian has said that Elliott lived in a council house and the house was overrun with live poultry, chickens, hens, cocks, along with other poultry. It was like a Tuscany farmhouse. While Sebastian classed himself living in a semi on the suburban edge of town in the country, Elliott thinks Sebastian had problems when people bettered him. Elliott had a 500 Norton Dominator. Sebastian had to try and better him by buying a 600cc Norton Dominator and saying that Elliott had rode the bike home from where he bought it, and Elliott saying it was fantastic and better than his. Elliott bought a house in Wales. Sebastian had to buy one in the lakes at Grange-over-Sands. Elliott says that he never rode any of Sebastian's bike, nor has he driven any of his cars, nor has he ever been invited to stay with Sebastian. But lots of things in his autobiography did link him that his brother was right, Sebastian being Autumn's biological dad. Elliott remembers Sebastian driving his car with a few friends and taking them to a club in Manchester, which was the railway club facing Victoria railway station, and they had to sign in. This is what they wrote: Jack Gould, Jack Gould; Bob Sand, Bob Gould; Elliott Goold, Elliott Goold; Alan Williams, Alan Gould; Warren Rogers, Warren Gould; Sebastian Knowles, Sebastian Knowles. He did think he was a cut above the rest. You will find out as you read more.